It doesn't matter what order. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Seeger. I'm with the City of Colorado Springs Communications Office, and we're gathered here today to talk about the winter weather storm response from many of our local government and utility agencies. We have Corey Farkas with the City of Colorado Springs with our Public Works Department, Kevin Masson, who's the Director of the El Paso County Public Works Department. We have Jay Anderson, the Public Information Officer from Colorado Springs Utilities, Ashley Franco, who is our Public Information Officer with Colorado Springs Fire Department, and Andrew Nottbaum, who's our Executive Director here at the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. First, we'll hear from our two Public Works leaders about plowing operations and where they stand and how things went this morning and what they expect moving forward through this afternoon and into tomorrow. And then we'll hear from utilities, talking a little bit about what they've seen and what they're asking residents to continue to do throughout this storm as it progresses. And then we'll hear from the fire department just with some health and safety protocols and some of what they've seen in terms of accidents as well. And then we'll end with PPROEM, just again with some preparedness messaging and the coordination that they've been running out of the Emergency Operations Center here at the PPROEM building. So without further ado, we'll have Corey Farkas and Kevin Masson come forward and just give a quick little briefing on where they are with plowing operations.
Good afternoon, everybody. Corey Farkas, City of Colorado Springs Public Works Operations and Maintenance Division Manager. It's been a busy night, even busier morning. We've had over 50 trucks out plowing our primary roadways through the overnight hours into the morning. This storm was exactly what we thought it was going to be. A lot of snow was falling, but the temperatures were in our favor. So as our plows were plowing our primary roadways, we were making pretty good progress through most of the morning hours. At this point in time, we had a shift change at noon. This afternoon, our primary focus is going to be our slushing operation. So we're going to be trying to widen out our primary roadways, getting into the turn lanes, and getting all of that slush off those primaries. And then we'll start working on our secondary roadways, which is where most of our schools are located. We'll try to get our secondaries taken care of before the overnight hours. We're also going to be taking a look at the residentials. So a lot of areas in town got more than 6 inches of snow. Our policy is that we get into the residentials with 6 inches or more. So we will be identifying residential neighborhoods for us to get into. One thing for everybody to remember is that we don't get into the residential neighborhoods until all of the primaries and secondaries are taken care of and all of the slush and snow is plowed off of those roadways, and then we will be getting into those residential roadways. One pass in, one pass out is typically what we do. Please be patient. While we may not be trying to cover up sidewalk, it does happen as we get into those residential roadways. So we know that folks work hard to try to clear their sidewalks, especially with this heavy snow. So we'll try to go as slow as we can, but we do have an operation to do so. So we will be kind of moving through those residentials as efficiently as we possibly can, and I think some folks could expect that some snow could get back onto the sidewalk. So again, we ask for a little bit of patience. Our folks are working really hard trying to get our roadways cleared. If you do need to go out this evening, we're not expecting extremely cold temperatures to where we'll get a lot of freezing, but there still could be some slush on the roadways. So please be careful while you're driving. That slush can pull you just like a heavy rain and localized flooding could pull you when you go through a puddle. The slush can do the same thing with your vehicle. So we ask the people take their time, and if you are out and you do see plows, please give them as much space as you can, because they're still out there trying to do the best job they can for the residents of Colorado Springs.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Kevin Masson, the Executive Director for Public Works for El Paso County. Exactly what Corey said. That could have been a joint statement. The only thing I would add to what Corey said that's unique to El Paso County is that for us, Monument area, Palmer Divide, north part of El Paso County is where we're spending most of our time right now. That's where we've seen the most significant snowfall, and the same thing, we're dealing with a lot of slush, melt, and things that are happening right now. I want to reiterate what Corey said. Our priority 2s and priority 3s, specifically the priority 3s in residential neighborhoods, it will be a while before we can get in there and start getting after the priority 3s. I don't have a set time when that could happen, but it will be a while. It could be tomorrow before we get into priority 3s. There may be some areas we may not be able to get into until Saturday. So again, just for citizens to be patient on that. Heavy wet snow like this for a lot of our residents in El Paso County, you are going to have windrows at the end of your driveways. So be prepared for that, and it's going to take a lot of work to get that snow off the end of your driveway, but please expect that. And also to reiterate what Corey said, in our residential areas, if you have a sidewalk, which is basically right up against the curb on the street, you're going to end up with snow on your sidewalk. If you do have vehicles that are parked on the street, my recommendation is to get them off of the street and get them up into your driveways or a neighbor's driveway if possible, because when we do get into priority 3s and we start plowing, it's going to leave a pretty good berm around that vehicle, and it's going to cause you a lot of work to get that vehicle dug out potentially. So that's basically all I have in addition to what Corey said, just pending any questions that anybody has.
All right, good afternoon. Jay Anderson, Colorado Springs Utilities Public Information Officer. Our winter protocols have been in place since before the first flake of snow hit the ground. That means that we're monitoring all of our systems, so that's electric, natural gas, water, and wastewater, since before this storm even hit. Really important to notice, to understand that heavy wet snow can cause lines to sag or fall and break. If you see a downed line, treat it as if it's energized. Please don't approach it. 719-448-4800 is the line that you should call. If you have any questions about your electrical lines, stay safe, stay inside, don't approach them, don't try to lift them yourself. As has been said, driving around in these poor conditions is not the thing to do. So it's really important that you leave our roads clear for our plows to operate, as well as our electrical troubleshooters and crews to be out there trying to address these issues. Additionally, something you might not think about is even where there's not infrastructure overhead, where residences are served by underground electricity, there's often some infrastructure that is above ground and can be struck by a car. So if you go sliding, you could actually take out entire neighborhoods by just being careless and driving when the most important thing to do is to stay home. We do have some other operational assets that are ready to bring online in case it gets cold, but as has been said, the temperatures have made it so that's not such a concern right now. The biggest concern is this heavy wet snow. One thing to remember from a Colorado Springs Utilities perspective is preparation works. We're prepared for this storm, and we've had very few outages. We've had a lot of good response by our crews. We're very proud of the work that's been done. That's it for me now. Thanks.
Ashley Franco, Colorado Springs Fire Department. Our biggest message for today is that emergencies don't take snow days. So a lot of people are on snow days today, and we've asked people, along with all of my partners behind me, to really stay off the roads. And the biggest thing for that is give the plows their space, give other crews their space, and then our emergency crews as well, to be able to respond to those other emergencies that are happening. The Colorado Springs Fire Department is prepared to stand up additional needs as we see fit, but the roads are getting a little bit better out there, and we haven't had the need to really stand up any of our additional resources, but we are prepared if we need to. We have had about 10 to 15 traffic accidents so far. We kind of want to, give our community a little bit of a shout out. That means people are staying off the roads. That means people are doing their part. They're not driving recklessly, carelessly. We know that our partners at the Colorado Springs Police Department are on accident alert, so if you do get in an accident, there are some different protocols you need to follow for that. Our CCFD crews, obviously, we have paramedics on every engine. We are out there looking for any, signs of cold exposure, hypothermia. If we do get called to any of those medical calls, we are going to make sure that we take those precautions. We have not had any citizen assist, so we've not had to rescue anyone from their vehicle, which just really reflects on our community being able to stay home and hunker down during this, so we appreciate that. The other thing we want to mention is that we tend to see more heart attacks during this time. We have a storm where we have very heavy wet snow, and if you are out shoveling, it takes a long time. There's a lot of snow, it's very heavy, and that puts a big strain on your heart. So we're really asking that you be mindful of that. Take breaks, only shovel a little bit at a time. Make sure you're drinking water. And if you have a neighbor who maybe has any disabilities or any issues that they might have, be able to help them, but also help yourself. So making sure you're keeping yourself and your neighbors safe. We really want to just make sure that people are staying home, but calling us if there is an emergency. We are operating as normal. We will come to help, with whatever we need to, and we are prepared and have continued to prepare for any storms like these.
Afternoon, everyone. Andrew Nottbaum, Director of Emergency Management for the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. First off, I want to thank residents for staying off the road this morning. By doing so, we're able to assist our public works and our public safety officials. Here at PPROEM, we activated our Emergency Coordination Center at 8 a.m. this morning to help support resource and information needs throughout the region. We're coordinating with about 25 different partners from local government, the state, the feds, law enforcement, public safety, mass care, and sheltering. Currently, we're supporting several shelter operations, the primary being the Springs Rescue Mission, and then also a warming shelter located in Monument. Overnight, the Springs Rescue Mission had 411 people, expected to increase tonight to about 425 to 450. Also, we know of a spontaneous shelter that opened up at Hope COS at the Sanctuary Church that is serving currently about 40 people. If you must travel today or tomorrow, make sure you have an emergency kit within your car, have extra warm clothing, water, jumper cables, and emergency supplies. The other thing too, Ashley mentioned making sure this is a heavy wet snow, watching out for utility lines, making sure if you're out shoveling, take care of your back, take care of your heart, stay hydrated. And then also, when you're shoveling, make sure our fire hydrants are clear. Don't be putting extra snow down catch basins or manholes. With that, too, last thing would be check on your neighbors, especially our elderly or those with disabilities. Make sure our most vulnerable are helped out during this snowstorm. For winter snow response, you can visit pproem.com/winterstorm.
So now we'll just go ahead and open it up for questions. So just obviously take your turn and raise your hand, and I'll call on you guys. And Bill, you can go ahead with the first one.
So you don't have to talk to a light if you want to answer down there. Kevin and Corey, the variable here, we came in and it looked like the storm was letting up, but the warning goes till noon tomorrow. What are we looking at overnight? I know there's varying south, it's warmer pavement. Up north, it's closer to freezing. Where are we? What are we looking at ahead?
Yeah, so we always take a look ahead and look to our meteorologists to let us know what's coming as far as additional snowfall and everything. We also have to plan for where we're at in the moment. And currently, over most of the city, we don't have flakes flying right now. So that's why we went into the slushing operations, where we will have team plowing. Don't be surprised if you see 3 or 4 plows wide on Academy or Woodman, some of these larger arterials, to try to get the slushing operations done as quickly as possible in one pass, if possible. If we start to get active snowfall in any part of the city, we adjust fire at that point in time, and we can reallocate our resources to wherever we need to go ahead and take care of that particular area. So yeah, the plan is the plan until the plan changes. We always have changes to the plan because Mother Nature, she dictates exactly where we go and what we do.
See, for the county, we cannot predict how many inches are going to fall. We rely heavily on our local meteorologists from all of your stations, as well as the National Weather Service down in Pueblo. We do expect more snowfall tonight, particularly what we're expecting is up in the north part of the counties, where we're going to expect to probably have to have most of our work tonight. Again, in Monument, Palmer Divide, that area, northern Black Forest. We do have areas out in Falcon, though, some of the residential areas that got hit pretty hard there as well with the amount of snow that they have. And we're going to try to get into some of that tonight if possible, but we're just going to keep grinding. That's really all there is to it. Wherever it falls, we're just going to keep grinding until we get the roads clear.
While you're there, we were just over in a neighborhood and we noticed where people drove through in their tracks, if they're hitting pavement, it's almost like it's clearing itself. Is that going to help If we say we may not make it to a neighborhood, I mean, it might melt faster than you can get there.
Yeah, the melt is actually, it was going to help a lot. Our only concern that we really have is that when we have this kind of moisture, that if we do have a dip in the temperatures that causes freezing, that could create a little bit of havoc. But yeah, seeing the amount of melt that we're getting right now, I mean, just drive, for those of you that drove here, you can see on the streets here when the springs went through, where a lot of the roads are down to bare pavement already. And still wet, but down to bare pavement. And it's great to see that. We're hoping to see some of the same throughout the county as well.
I have a question from the county's perspective as well. Yesterday, Jack had mentioned it was possible we might see road closures. Possibly Highway 24 was mentioned. What's that shaping up to look like right now? Lesser likely, more likely?
I would say lesser likely at this point, but based off of the information we had yesterday, that was an accurate statement by Jack. We just simply didn't know. There was a lot of different models, depending on which model you looked at. Based off of that prediction, we would have expected to have certain roads that would have been closed. One thing we thought would potentially happen is I-25 potentially being closed in the gap, and then all of that traffic trying to funnel into the county. Fortunately, we didn't see that. So, and we're hoping that we kind of stay on that track as we finish through the weekend here, that we don't have to have any closures. But right now, we don't have any.
So CDOT has said that they expect they might close the gap this evening. To your point, could that lead to county effects if we have more traffic coming in because they can't use I-25?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime I-25 stops, I mean, vehicles are like water. I mean, you can try to block it, but it's going to try to find another path to get around whatever you put there. And it's the same thing with the traffic here. If people start jumping off of I-25, you're going to see increases on a lot of our north-south priority 1 roads. You'll see people jumping over to Highway 83 and trying to come down through Highway 83 out of Denver. People from the south trying to get to the airport are going to try to get up through I-83, which is going to cause them to drive through the city and then eventually through the county. It's just there's no way to answer specifically what exactly we'll see, but it will have effects. It will impact our ability to clear roads, and it will impact the traffic on both the city streets and the county roads.
Do you guys prepare for that at all? Like, is Highway 83 in shape to handle that?
Well,
that were to happen?
Highway 83, Highway 24, those are all CDOT roads, and CDOT's been after it. Powers Boulevard, that's a CDOT road as well, and they've already been on those roads taking care of it. The thing is that if we end up with a significant amount of snowfall, and people are trying to get through and they ask Google to take the shortest route, that's how they end up in a lot of our neighborhoods and different areas like that, because they're taking the shortest route versus what could potentially be the most effective route to get someplace. Okay.
Do you guys have any instances of first responder vehicles, utility vehicles, or snowplows getting stuck in the snow, or has it all been clear so far from that perspective?
The county, we have had, the only issue we've had so far with the vehicles in Chipeta Park, and that's we had a truck that threw a chain and broke a brake line, so that's delaying our operations up in Chipeta Park, but that's the only issue we've had so far.
Jay, you had mentioned minor. Has there been some power outage, and has it been like single lines down, or what are you guys seeing?
Yeah, there have been a small number of utilities outages, mostly electrical outages, and you can actually follow those at the outage map from csu.org. If you're really interested, I've got a tremendous story. You may not think about all of the areas that Colorado Springs Utilities acts and operates, but up in the watershed, what I'm hearing this morning around the in the watershed above the Broadmoor and to the southwest of the city, there was a little bit of an outage on one of our assets up there, and we have some caretakers who are up there. So earlier this morning, we had a couple of staff members who are walking around in snowshoes to go check it out. They're on backup generators. Everything's working just fine. But that's an example of the sort of things that you can follow at our outage map, either through our My Account app or at csu.org. You can check those out. What generally happens is an outage will occur, like I said, whether it's a vehicle striking some of our infrastructure or a sagging line that's been taken out. And our operators will be able to remotely switch to isolate that outage to the smallest number of customers possible before we send as we send a troubleshooter out there to try to address that. But yeah, it's what I heard this morning is it's just a small handful of outages, and they've been addressed, and you can watch that happen at our outage map.
And the follow-up to that is we're starting to see the snow falling off the lines, and I guess there could be more snow. But is it potential to keep an eye on things still? Does it ever weaken lines and they fall out? Does that make sense? That where something's been weakened because it's been pulled on for so long that it may happen later?
Yeah, as far as maintenance of our lines go, I'm probably not going to be able to comment very knowledgeably about that. But yeah, I know that we have been monitoring our infrastructure since early on in this event, and we have regular cadence of checking out our infrastructure, which includes after storms like this.
I know coming into this news conference, about 2,500 customers were out in the Stetson Hills neighborhood along Powers, and I think some stoplights along Powers were affected. Do you know sort of the latest on that particular outage?
On that particular outage, I just got an update while we were here that it's down, like I said, by switching and rerouting power, that number of outage customers is now below 800. And that's what you'll see happen through this. If you check out the outage map, it decreases, it isolates, and then as we have a troubleshooter on the way to understand what went wrong, then hopefully we're restoring power to people even before we've repaired the precise failure.
Does utilities have overhead lines out in that area, or is that area mostly underground service?
Not knowing the particulars of this, I believe are out on the east there. I was informed this morning that it is mostly underground, so the suspicion is that it was probably a vehicle that struck something that was those little green thumbs that stick out of the ground, those little switches or other infrastructure. I don't want to speculate on what it could be, but that's the type of thing that we might expect, even when there is a below ground infrastructure. It's still not a good idea to go around driving if you don't have to, because this type of outage can happen.
And then you guys had tweeted out this morning some photos of like completely broken power lines that looked like they were snapped in some, not snapped, but bent over. And it said down power lines. I mean, I can pull it up and show it to you. It looks like you're not recalling precisely what.
No, I'm not going to be able to speak to the social media post that you're talking about.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I can show it to you.
Sure. Sure.
How should people prepare their homes for a potential outage?
So we shared some advice yesterday about preparing for either a natural gas or an electrical outage, which is the kind of thing that you worry about. You know, everybody wants to stay warm in a situation like this. So we talked about the use of portable generators and just being really careful with those, making sure you're not introducing carbon monoxide into your house if you have a generator. But for something like this, the most likely thing to happen is a temporary shortage, temporary electrical outage. And the best thing to do in that situation is to call 719-448-4800. That's on all of your utilities bills. It's on our website, csu.org. It's the best way to get in touch with us, and they'll probably let you know, thank you, we're tracking that, we're on it, and you should be restored within a certain time frame.
Do you have any other utilities advice to anticipate frozen pipes or the temperatures?
No, we're not really concerned about the frozen pipe situation. It's helped with the snow removal operations, and it's also helping with our resiliency to this event that we're not really, this isn't a deep cold event. This is more of just a lot of heavy wet snow.
I just have two more quick questions. Appreciate you guys staying around and answering this for us. I think it's for maybe Ashley or the county. If someone, say, has a 4x4 vehicle, we get a lot of questions from citizens that they may see someone stranded on the road, they have chains to be able to pull them out. Do you say do that, or do you say let first responders come and do that? What is your recommendation for those folks?
I would say that depending upon what is happening, I would call the emergency line, probably the non-emergency line if there is no immediate threat, and have first responders come out and assess kind of what's going on. We know that there is crews out there, the 4x4 crew who has come out and helped everyone in situations, and they're highly trained, but we would ask that you call us just so that we can come make sure that everyone is okay, that there is no infrastructure involved, and just make sure that we can understand the extent of damage or the person stuck, and really just make sure we're getting an overview of that before something is happening.
Then my second question is,
If I could just
go ahead, yeah.
I just want to follow up there real quick. Our protocol in the county, particularly in the rural areas, if any of our drivers, whether it's a plow driver, whether it's a grader operator, if they see a vehicle that's in the ditch, a vehicle that's stranded, they always stop, they render assistance. They'll also look at the vehicle. If the vehicle is empty, they'll tape it so law enforcement knows that the vehicle's been checked. But we'll stay with whoever is there until fire department can come along or medical assistance is required. And then there are situations, depending on the environment, we'll actually transport the individuals to a safer location, whether it's a
there's an area on your website where you can submit a maintenance request for snow in and around your neighborhood. When do you encourage people to use that, and for what specifics?
Yeah, so bottom line is we're here to serve. And while we don't get into neighborhoods, typically our policy is 6 inches or more of snow. There are times when we could have drifting. Each neighborhood is different where the snow falls. So we want to know if folks need help. So the GoCOS app is another great way to contact us. But we do have areas in town that typically won't be hit by our plows in a residential area unless there's 6 inches or more of snow. Where folks call up and say, hey, we're north facing, we're on a hill, we need a little bit of assistance here, and we will certainly come out and offer that assistance after our normal plowing operations are completed.
I have a question. for Corey as well.
Can I add? I'm sorry, I would be in trouble if I didn't follow up on this with Corey. It's just like the app that the Colorado Springs uses. We use Citizen Connect. You can find that on the El Paso County website. So if somebody wants to submit a service request. But the one caveat I want to put out, there are specific neighborhoods that think the more they submit, the higher they'll get on a priority list, and that's not how it works. All we're going to do is bog down our ability to reply to all those. Once a request is submitted for a problem, that single request is what we're going to act on. So if somebody submits follow-up for the same thing, they're going to get an email that said it's already been submitted, and then that request will be closed out. So just want to make sure that's clear. Sorry. Thanks, Corey.
So yeah, for Corey, I know you said most of the schools are on secondary routes. I guess, what's that shaping up to look like? Because a lot of parents are wanting to know whether or not their kids will have school tomorrow. Do you guys communicate with the school districts on that front at all, or do the districts make their decision completely independent of talking to you guys about the status of clearing those roads around the schools?
We do communicate with the school districts, and we will give them status updates of those secondary roadways that are in and around the schools. That being said, the decisions they make are not just on the roadways. Obviously, they have to consider bus routes, residential neighborhoods. If there's enough snow that is making an impact in residential neighborhoods, however, not enough for us to go plow less than 6 inches in those residential neighborhoods. They take that into consideration as well because they have kids riding their bikes, walking, and buses going through those neighborhoods. Also, their own crews that are clearing snow in and around their schools. That has a big impact on decisions that they make. So, this particular event, for example, really didn't get fired up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and so they have to make decisions before that. Obviously, they can't make a decision at that point in time for that same day for people coming to the school. So they again try to use all of the information that's in front of them and make the best decision that they can on whether to keep school open, close it, or delay. But we certainly contact them and communicate with them on our infrastructure and how we're doing and time frames of when we think we'll be on those secondaries and getting those cleared.
So are you already on some of the secondaries, or has that not even started yet?
So yeah, this afternoon we'll be getting in. We've probably gotten onto some of the secondaries at this point in time. When we're clearing those primaries, sometimes a good turnaround point is one of our secondary roadways, so they'll start to get touched. That being said, our plan is again to get out there and get our slushing operations going, and while we're doing that, start getting onto those secondaries so that we can get a lot of those cleared before the overnight hour.
Thank you. If I could, while we've been here, I've gotten 2 updates. The Manitou social post was, yes, there was a post that was damaged. Did not result in an outage. Crews are going to be on there eventually, but yeah, they'll do some repair to the post. Second item was out east, the outage that was out there that was cut down to under 800. All customers are now back in service. So they wouldn't. I'm getting blown up, and I would be remiss if I didn't address those. Thanks.
Thank you.
Question for Andrew. I know yesterday Toby had said that you guys were partially activated, but prepared to fully activate Are you fully activated at this point?
We are,
And
yeah.
what does that mean?
What that means is that we're in this facility. We're operating out of the Emergency Operation or Emergency Coordination Center. We're supported with the emergency support functions that are needed for this sort of emergency would be transportation, law enforcement, public works, coordination, information management, and resource management. So we were remote overnight working through our duty officer, and then at 8 a.m. this morning activated the Emergency Coordination Center.
Do you have any sort of outlook on when you might switch off them?
We've got multiple coordination calls throughout the day today. The last one that we have scheduled is at 3:30, and we'll work mostly with our northern El Paso County partners, and we'll make a decision at that time whether we do overnight operations, but we'll stay open as long as there's a need.
I know you mentioned that there's a shelter up in Monument area, correct? Is that a Red Cross shelter?
It is,
Is
yep.
that there largely for if the gap gets closed, folks can
Yeah.
hop off and go there?
It's great. It's not an overnight shelter. It's technically what's called a warming shelter. And so they've got hot coffee, water, a place to get out of the snow, to get out of your car, but they do not have that set up as an overnight shelter.
Any other thoughts on how it might affect you if the gap were to close overnight?
We'll continue to do what we do, which is work with our partners to share information, get them resources as they need resources. We'll lean forward and talk to the Red Cross, look at contingencies for that if they need to set up an overnight shelter, but we'll start having those discussions based on this information.
Thank you all for attending. If anyone has any one-on-one questions, just let me know and we can set that up afterwards. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.